Uh, Good afternoon. I'm Chris Bass, the president of the National Recreation and Parks Ethnic Minority Society, and I also have the pleasure of serving as the Parks Recreation Director for the city of Douglasville, and here in Douglasville, Georgia. This is our summer webinar, part of our series that we offer with the National Recreation and Parks Ethnic Minority Society to help educate and share ideas and engage our professionals across the country. So we have a special group here with us today who I've had the pleasure of working with with the Ethnic Minority Society and with my role here in the city of Douglasville, who's going to share some great information with us. But before I turn the floor over to the USTA team, I do just want to share the NRP EMS board has really been working hard to provide a lot of opportunities for our members and engage. So please feel free to follow all of our platforms, visit our website. We're going to put the link to the website in the chat box. And we'll also ask that if you could put where you're from, what's your name, what city you're from in the chat box so that we can make sure that we're staying engaged with you throughout the year. So again, we're gonna put our website link, and please introduce yourself. Just tell us your name and where you're from. So, but it's so good to see so many smiling faces on here. I'm not going to hold up the time here. With that, I'll pass it over to our team from our partners from USTA for our presentation.
All right, thanks, Chris. And if I think everybody probably knows Chris Bass. Chris wears about 15 different hats. He has responsibilities with 15 different organizations, it seems like. And I know with Lauren Parr, who works for us, she's like, hey, I just got an email from Chris from this other association and other things. So Chris, I swear you're amazing, and just the impact that you make to not just your own local community, but throughout the country has been really amazing. So it's always a pleasure to work with you. So appreciate that. All right. So what we're going to do now is we're going to dive into we're going to provide some resources. Anyone want resources? You can raise your hand. Anyone want grant dollars? You can raise your hand. But what we're doing here is really helping to support you, meet you where you're at, and really just leverage the existing resources you have and see how we can multiply those with the services that we provide as well. So to click this here. So what we're going to dive into, and let's keep this interactive as well. So as you have questions, feel free to jot those in the chat. Or just go ahead and raise your hand, and you can come off mute, and we can receive those as we go. So what we'll do is we'll just kind of give you a snapshot of what does the overall industry look like with USTA, with tennis in general, and racket sports overall as well. Health and wellness piece as one of the pillars of NRPA. Obviously, the health and wellness piece is huge. Tennis Venue Services, which is the department that we oversee, and we basically provide a number of different services for you within that. We also wear the hat of public parks. We also wear the hat of community tennis associations, which we'll talk about as well. Smart court access. If anyone is interested to determine the utilization on those public courts that are in a middle of a park that's not managed or programmed, there's an opportunity here for everybody there. And then tennis and pickleball. I don't know if you've heard of those two sports, but we could definitely talk about various approaches and strategies on approaching it in that instance. So we'll dive into the industry and structure piece. So you've heard, you may have heard that tennis has increased in participation. We are close to the highest we've ever been as far as tennis participation. Just as you can see here, we've increased 34% just in the last few years. And we're at 23.8 million. We've increased every single year since 2019 as well. The core players, which is really the most significant number, or one of the most significant numbers, is core players. That's really, you know, how many players play multiple times a year, and I believe this is like 9 times or more a year. Over about half of the players, you know, play tennis more than once, and up to that 9%, 9 times a year. Beginners is another big number for us. I mean, 133% of new players. You know, that's really filling in any holes or gaps, bringing more people into the game as well. And then, as you see, the play occasions is pretty significant, over 500 million play occasions as well. So as you can tell, tennis is not dying. Tennis is growing. It's alive and well, and really big participation when it comes to tennis here. Now let's look at this as comparison to other racket sports. What you'll see here is you know, table tennis. It's still holding strong. It's hanging in there, close to that 15 million mark. Pickleball. I mean, look at that number. That is definitely jumping up year after year significantly. And I'm sure everyone on the line here has heard from a pickleballer or two recently, and like I said, we'll definitely hit that topic towards the end of the presentation, and provide maybe some strategies that would be helpful to you as well. Just a little bit about the background. Obviously, you know, the mission of USTA is really to grow tennis, inspire healthier people in communities everywhere. This is a brand new statement that came out within the last, say, about 3 months, actually. So now you see that true alignment with NRPA and our parks friends out there in that health and wellness piece, plus communities, right? Communities is really where things happen. And then just the various strategic directives that you see there on the right. Won't dive into too many things there. On the left here, has anyone heard that small tournament that we run in New York? It's called the US Open, right? So it's a Grand Slam. All the proceeds from that actually gets distributed. Those 2 weeks gets distributed and keeps us moving forward for the entire year. And that's with our national office, which I'm here in Orlando. We have about two-thirds of our staff is here in Orlando. We also have staff up in New York, and then out in kind of the Carson, LA area as well. And then there's 17 sections. You'll see them kind of broken out there to the right. So you can kind of pick and choose kind of where your section would be. And these sections are separate entities. Basically, these it's like Bernitas. There we go. So these sections are separate entities. They have their own staff. They have their own board. And then some of those sections also have districts. So you see kind of that navy, the royal blue there in southern. So you'll see Louisiana. There's actually 9 states there, and each of those states are considered districts, which are also separate entities with their own board and staff as well. And then you get all the way down to CTAs. So that's community tennis associations, and those are nonprofit organizations. There's about 800 to 900 of those around the country. And I'd say probably about 5% actually have staff. The other 95% would be volunteer-run organizations to really help you there locally. So you can tell how well we do align with NRPA at the national level, and then the sections with your states, districts with the states, all the way down to the CTAs, which would be the agency level as well. So all the proceeds really there gets distributed, and we try to align strategically. All right, so any questions here? No? All right. did see Bernita. How are you doing, Bernita? Hope you're doing well. Another area where we would support everybody, as far as the agencies go, is from coach training. So we do provide free coach
National
training.
Racquetball Association recently formed an official partnership.
Who was that? So I just heard. Okay. So coach training. There's safe play. Safe play is really more than background checks. This is background checks plus training on how to handle situations to make it safe for the kids. We provide that free of charge as well for any tennis type programming. USTA leagues, obviously, we all probably are familiar with that. That's the largest adult league program in any sport is our USTA leagues. Coach supports. We have online and physical coach trainings that way, all the way to the tournaments. Obviously, the tournaments is something we can also talk about even after this presentation. If you're looking for economic impact and opportunities for events in that, let's talk through that and let's see how many courts you have. Let's see what types of events you can actually put on, because obviously that's a big push, especially through the mayor's offices and others. Programming awards and so on. The bottom one here is the park agency tennis assessments, which I believe Chris might have gone through that. Chris, do you want to share anything from your findings on the assessment?
Yeah, absolutely. I was actually just talking to my city manager last night, and she asked for an update on where we are with executing the recommendations. So it's a document that is living here in the city of Douglasville. But if I can kind of give my experience here in Douglasville, this tool has helped align our tennis and all paddle and racket sports within our department, giving us some direction. It's covering infrastructure in terms of what upgrades we need to make, how we need to make sure we have facilities that are not just ready for a tournament play, but for everyday play. From the programming piece, we just literally met with an organization that was a recommendation from this particular tennis assessment to figure out how we can reach those groups that we're struggling with reaching, specifically youth, exposing more youth to the game of tennis. And then that management model, one of the things that we're actually are executing from the recommendations through this particular assessment is having our gate locking system. We're using, that was a recommendation that came through this particular assessment that we're going to start using on our baseball fields as well. So the way I look at it is it's a mini master plan, a resource that we're able to use over the next 3 to 5 years and beyond to help position us for success as we continue to grow the game of tennis. So, yeah.
Fantastic. Well, thanks, Chris. I'll pay you later. All right. So just a little bit more color around what the specific assessment looks like. So as you see these 4 modules here, there's the management piece, which is really an interview type process with the director, the assistant, director, the leadership of the agency, where we dive into what's the structure look like, what's the delivery, how do you approach pickleball, how do you get certification for your pros, you have them in-house, concessionaires, what's that all look like? So it's a good solid 1.5 to 2 hour interview type process of these questions. We'll provide the questions up front. And it's great that your planning department's there and along with your programming side, just so everyone gets really aligned when it comes to racket and paddle sports and what does that approach look like. And then from there, there's site specific. So let's say you have 20, 30, we just did Prince George County, there's probably 130 sites that they oversee. I don't know how they do it all. But you have the impact, so it's community impact per site, and these are 1, 2, and a 3 rated scale of weight. So there's various questions. You get 1, 2, 3. So now you're starting to get data to really back up what the recommendations would look like. And in many cases, like Chris has mentioned in the past, like, yep, that's exactly kind of what we thought. Or, hey, on the programming side, we had no idea. This is a great opportunity to implement and incorporate, down the road. So, so the programming is done on a 1, 2, 3 rated scale, and then the infrastructure, like the bricks and mortar. What do the courts look like? The surface, the lights, is there wheelchair accessibility from the parking lot to the actual court, and how does that look? So, so all of that comes back. Then we bring it all together, we absorb it. We also have our USTA section goes along this process with us. So that also develops and grows that relationship that you have with the section. And then we deliver about an 1.5-hour presentation at the end that you can take. And like in Chris's case, he's used that presentation to present to the board, the Parks Board and others. So it's really a great tool from a national governing body that is provided. And I know Chris got it for free. We will extend that to the rest of EMS as well to be able to get that for free. Actually, it's free across the board, but just wanted to say that. So great tool. And again, just aligning your existing resources with what the demand is out there. Health and wellness, we spoke a little bit about this, but this is really where I wanted to share the NRPA relationship with USTA. So we've come a long ways, and with Christine Stratton on board as the CEO, it's just been great to see her leadership and develop the relationship with EMS, along with the relationship with USTA and how that's developed over time. We are a national governing organization, so we are a true partner of NRPA, and that was just signed earlier this year. We were the first NGO to sign with NRPA. As we talked about the 3 pillars of NRPA with the health and wellness, equity, and the conservation sustainability side, we are the presenting sponsor for health and wellness in 2024 for NRPA as well. Obviously, the equity side, we have a wealth of support and resources to help in that capacity. We just signed an agreement to partner with America's Landscape Architects, ASLA, and we're having a working group on conservation sustainability. So whenever you build a facility, what are some of the tips and tricks and best practices that you can incorporate to make it more of a sustainable type of facility when it comes to conservation? And then we're also the presenting sponsor for National Parks Month. So here we are halfway through. So if you do have any tennis events, we are definitely promoting it daily, weekly to all of our people, that huge network of people that we talked about earlier with the community tennis associations, to our coaches, to others as well. All right. And any questions here? Nope. All right. And then here's just a list of the various partners that we have also. So ASBA, so it's the American Sports Builders Association. So if you want to get insight on maintenance of courts, building new courts, any of that, we co-author the court construction manual, which everybody uses, kind of like the Bible for court construction. So if you need anything to be done in the court side, that's the book you refer to. So we help and do the updates with that. ASLA I mentioned already. NAPF. Anyone know what NAPF is? Let's see it in the chat. Let's get a little interaction here. Come on, got this. NAPF. I think N and A. No idea. Okay, Steve, you got negative 100 points. What was that, Chris?
I think I saw one of their former board members on the call.
National Association, ... Brett. Okay, you're just about there. National Association Park Foundations. Oh, Tamika, that was so close. I just said it, but we'll give you 100 points. All right, you get 100 points for that one. NRPA, we're not going to ask that question. I think everyone should know that. EMS as well. And then Playcore Game Time is a big partner of ours as well. So we'll show some renderings of that Playcore piece. We actually support your conference there at NRPA the last couple of years, and we will again this year. So let's talk about health and wellness a little bit. So there was the Mayo Clinic back in 2018 did a big study of a number of various sports and about which one is the healthiest. And came back tennis can actually improve your life longevity 9.7 years. Whoa. So who is going to start playing some tennis? Let's do this. So that's if you play three times a week. It does increase. And there's a lot of that interval type training, right? You play the point and then you can take a break, so you get that heart rate up and then you take a break and then continue with that. So along with the mental side as well, which is great for tennis. So here's just some various, the healthy thoughts, healthy bodies, healthy vibes, and so on. There are numbers showing that kids they drink less, higher upper level education, and just a number healthier eating habits and so on from playing tennis. All right, so let's go into. Does anyone have a court like this? No. All right. Well, this one has a little snow, so it'd be up north. All right. So this is what we did when we finished with them. Beautiful blue color here. And this next one, I kind of see this as maybe a partial grass court. It looks like here in the near side. You got some puddles. Pretty rough court. And then here's the after of that one as well. So as you can see, we do help. We meet each of our clients where they're at and help support with oversight and just extra set of eyes, basically. So who's our team? So we do have a national staff. So it's actually 4 of us. I'm not sure why there's 3 there, but there's 4 of us. We do have project managers. So no matter where you are in the country, we assign a project manager to help kind of walk you through the entire process. We have technical consultants and then business consultants, as I mentioned earlier. Like Khalid is wanting in. There we go. All right. From the technical side, any questions? I feel like I'm talking the entire time here. Any questions? Chris, do you have any questions?
I actually do, but it was more on the programming side, so I wanted to make sure it fell in line.
All right. Sounds good. We'll wait there. All right, great. So from the technical side, basically, you may have your own engineers, you may have your own general contractors. We basically meet them where they're at and help support them. So we're not telling them what to do or anything. We just say, hey, here's what the industry standards are. Here's what your peers have done while they're out there, and then we provide some guidance and recommendations from there. Just this morning, I was on the line with Fort Lauderdale and their team, who they're looking at reconstructing one of their facilities, and they're trying to figure out how do we get some extra space. So we noticed that they had some fencing between banks of courts. We're like, well, instead of having the space to the fence and then fence to the next court space, let's remove maybe just one of those fences. Now you can condense those courts a little bit more, have the appropriate overruns, but then also be able to have the other courts with those dividing fences and make that happen. So those are some things where we just come in and we just provide some insight, based on the 800 plus, inquiries we get a year, that we do it day in and day out. So here you'll see in the upper right corner, that would be like a 2D concept. So based on the land, the topography of the land, we can lay it out based on what the programming interests are in the programming plan along with your budget. and really piecemeal it out. So it is set up where there's a great flow of, the foot traffic flow and how that works. And then we can also get down to the bottom right corner, which is really the 3D rendering to help sell the project. If you're trying to sell it to city council or the park board, or donors that are out there, or people who might want to invest into the dollars, like sponsors and that type of thing. So if you do get to that point, you do need to do an RFP to bid out, maybe for resurfacing the court. Let us take a look at that RFP, because the tighter that RFP is, the more apples to apples the responses and the bids are that you'll receive back. Plus, we can promote that RFP out to more contractors that are out there. So now if you get more competition, that can also drive the cost down as well for you.
Tom, I can just add to
Right.
that.
Yep.
So as you know, we are in the design phase for our facility, and I can tell you when we look at how much money we've saved, because getting renderings are expensive for park. I mean, we paid north of $75,000 to $100,000 for just a rendering. So to be able to get this service has really helped us financially. And now that we have our rendering, we've taken upon ourselves to get a survey to get a even better narrowed down rendering, so that we can go ahead and move to the bidding process. So it has saved us a lot of time and money.
Fantastic. Well, again, the check's in the mail. Appreciate the positive vibes there and the feedback. Appreciate it, man. All right, here we go. So let's go to the next. This one is this is Mobile Tennis Center. They actually have 60 tennis courts, and they wanted to add 30 to 32 clay courts to this area, and along with some indoor courts. So you'll see the indoor here. So at first, you see why is there this huge gap? Well, we initially didn't realize until we started talking to their planning people, but there is a little dry creek right through here. So it makes it really tough to put a tennis court on a dry creek area, right? So we had to kind of work around that, along with this road that is not going to be redone. So now that road's there as well. But the key is to create this parking here. So you have a single point of entrance to the indoor. You can do your check-in, and then you can go out to the clay court space and still have that contained and secure, so you don't have any issues from there. Here's just another rendering that we did. This is a potential project, just in the Nashville area as well, just south of Nashville. Looking at a number of courts. You'll see we're incorporating here on the right picture some playground equipment, which could be that play core relationship that we have. I don't know if you could see it, but this is like a half of a tennis racket, which is pretty cool. Some cornhole, some bocce, kind of out there in the distance, pickleball courts, and then in the near area, you'll see the tennis courts here as well. So talk about and then the big where it does say USTA, those are indoor courts. So it's about 8 indoor courts there too. Here's another project that's on park land. It's called the Leftwich Tennis Center in Memphis. This was with an NJTL program, which is basically it's National Junior Tennis and Learning. So our USTA Foundation runs these NJTL or supports these NJTL programs around the country that basically is tennis and education. Many of you might already have that kind of in your community, but basically leveraging tennis as the carrot to be able to provide tutoring and other types of educational resources. So that NJTL is the one that's actually running this facility. And then these are also the home courts to University of Memphis as well. So it's a beautiful facility. It's 12 indoor courts, and then you have 24 outdoor courts there as well. So the other thing is people kind of say, all right, well, is this a feasible project? Is this a project that's going to stay over time, right? So we can help with a business model. We can help with cost recovery. We can help with profit loss statement as well, to say, all right, the numbers is black and white. It looks like it's going to work year after year, and it looks like the third year we're going to go ahead and recover the costs of what might happen there. You may want someone else to run the facility or manage it. So let's get an RFP and let us take a look at that RFP, give you some insights. So now you get better quality type people who might bid to manage the facility for you. All right, keep it moving here. So smart court access, this is what Chris was talking about. So, one of the biggest challenges that we have, and I believe agencies as well, when I've talked to them, is, when we go through our assessment, we ask them, okay, so these bank of 4 courts out in the public park, what's the utilization look like? How many people are on those courts? And it's very difficult for them to give a response to that, because they're just open courts. Anyone can jump on those courts and that. So this is really where we provide a free reservation tool. And for the time being, we also have, we're increasing pilots for this as well. So we would actually provide the lock and the installation of it with the gate system free of charge. And basically what the client would do is just go online, create their account, and then they can reserve the court. And then they go in, they get a code, and that code is valid 5 minutes before they play, throughout the time that they play, then it disappears. So it just makes it nice and easy for them. You can charge if you'd like, or maybe you don't charge for this as well. So, and those that you may not want to charge, you just have a sign up there, and you can say, okay, either click 55555, and then you get in free, or you still want them to register, so now you get their contact information. Now you start understanding who's on the courts, when they're on the courts, and then if you have a program that's coming up this summer with tennis, hey, let's go ahead and email everybody and say, hey, by the way, we know that you love tennis. Go ahead and come on out and sign up for this program. So this is huge in the UK right now, in Australia. They're in thousands of facilities there, and we're using the exact same technology here in the US. And you'll see this one in the upper right, that's Whitney Young High School, and that's in New York. In fact, one of the buildings just beyond that is the Sears Tower, which is a pretty cool place. Right on the other side of those courts also is Michelle Obama Athletic Center. So that's where she's an alumni of that facility as well, or of that school. All right, and then it can also be tied to lighting. So how cool would that be? You go ahead and you get your code, you plug it in, and then the lights turn on. And then when your time's up, then the lights can turn off. So become more efficient as well. So Chris, have you looked into this for the lights?
But we haven't gotten to the lighting system yet.
Yeah.
It's just on the list, but it's definitely something we're looking at. One of the things we're trying to do is convert to LED, so it's a high priority for us.
Yeah, that's good. And we can take a look at the photometrics and make sure that you have the right ratios, where it's not like too bright or you have dark spots or things around the court. And some companies, some lighting companies would just go to the playing inbounds area. So you actually strike the ball beyond that inbound space, right? You're standing outside of the baseline. So you want to make sure that the lights are a good 10 feet outside of the inbounds of the court, because that's really where you strike the ball many times. All right, tennis and pickleball. Here we go. So, has anyone seen the statement of guidance by chance? You can just use the chat if you'd like. All right, no one yet. Okay, so I'll take that as a no. So basically, what we found over the last couple of years is it has been kind of the Wild West when it comes to just coming up with decisions when it comes to pickleball and tennis, and just there is this huge demand of pickleball. So where do we place everybody? We don't have much budget, but how do we make this thing happen? So the statement of guidance is really, and what we'll do is we'll include the link to this as a follow-up to everything, if that's all right, Chris. So what we'll do is basically what this is just some type of there's a strategy that we worked with various park professionals, and we worked with court contractors as well to say, all right, how should we approach this? If we get 5 phone calls about pickleball and I want to play, instead of having the knee-jerk reaction to say, okay, every time we resurface a tennis court, we're going to add pickleball lines to it, right? Well, eventually that's not going to work well, because if you have an increase of 6 million new tennis players, then you have the increase of pickleball players, and now you're trying to put them on top of the same court. You may even get more headaches, and that's what we've heard. Yeah, you'll get some more headaches and more phone calls. So really, as you can see here, the option 1 would be to get site-specific courts. Working with Tampa, Tampa Park and Rec, they added 44 pickleball courts and only touched 4 tennis courts. So they looked at creative ways, similar to that second option there, where it's non-traditional spaces. Let's look for some non-traditional spaces that's out there that we could go ahead and put acrylics down. We can actually build a court on the flat surface that's already available. And now you're able to subside, keep the tennis courts as tennis courts where the tennis players are playing, but then also you have the pickleball players having their own space. And I'll tell you, if I could play tennis in a rec center, I would do that all day. Indoors, great climate and that type of thing. But I know that's another option for the pickleball side. So if you have that non-traditional space, is that opportunity. And then if it comes down to it, it's like, okay, well that's alleviating some of the pressure, but we also still have some more demand. If you do have a bank of 2 tennis courts, and they are in a public, maybe in the public park somewhere, maybe that might be an option temporarily to add pickleball lines on each side of the court for that. And now you get 4 pickleball courts there. Just be careful of where the houses are located, which I'm sure everyone realizes that. We look at it, there's different approaches to this. We've heard 300 feet and 500 feet from to a house. So I would lean more on that 500 feet just to be safe as far as distance and the sound. And then also consider the parking space, because basically those would be 2 tennis courts with a max of 2, 4, 6, 8 players, so 8 parking spaces. Now you're doubling that for pickleball, so now you actually need 16 spaces, or up to 16. So now that could cause an issue as well. And then so that's really the idea, is really take that type of an approach as you raise money, as you get the capital to build more pickleball courts. And then that's just for today, right? So we've grown 5 million or 6 million new tennis players in the last few years. So that's just to try to subside with today's numbers. Just think about 5-10 years from now, and we also need to increase tennis courts as we move forward to meet up with the demand. Now we do have, and I believe it might be in here. Let me see. Yes, here it is. Perfect timing. So we do have this tool, this data. It's called Kinetica. It's used in Australia, and we are now feeding so much more information into this. This basically is a tool that you could take a pinpoint of an address and determine the walking distance or the driving distance, 15-minute drive from that location, and then determine what's the CDC data look like, what's the demographic data look like, what is the interest level of tennis what's the participation level of tennis? What's the participation level of pickleball as well in that space? So now you're getting that data that we've talked about to be able to provide to your board, to others, to back up the decisions that you make moving forward. So, so please reach out to us. We'd love to talk through this with you and help out if you do have any of those types of projects. And then here's an example of that would be the the percentage that played racket and paddle sports, and then you have the breakdown over here to the right, and this would be Amy Yee Tennis Center in Seattle. So we worked with AP Diaz out there. How many are lapsed tennis players? So you have those numbers. And then you also have, who's really interested or somewhat interested that state that. So now you can start seeing the percentage of your population that has that interest. That has that interest. And then as that interest is so high, now you know that, okay, we need to make some various decisions based on that. So here's with the partnership that we have with PlayCore, and many of you may have already seen this, but there's different sizes of this type of a facility. It's very modular. But this one here, you'll see 12 tennis courts. You'll see 6 pickleball courts there in the upper left corner, and then the padel courts. So just because you're hearing pickleball, believe me, you might start hearing the sport padel as well, or paddle. It's the fastest growing sport in Europe right now, down in South and Central America as well. It's just really huge. We have 4 courts here at the campus, at the USTA campus in Orlando, and we just see this sport growing. So it's really like tennis with plexiglass, kind of like racquetball, and you're playing over a net. So it is pretty interesting. So you'll see it down here on the right. But here what we'll do is, typically in a public park, you'll have a playground, and then 300 yards away, you have tennis courts, right? Well, we locked ourselves in the door in the offices there in Chattanooga with PlayCore, and we said, okay, how can we rethink this? Let's think outside the paradigm that's out there. What if we make that the centralized aspect is the playground, and then we maybe put the pickleball courts on one side of it, the tennis courts on the other side, and make that playground as the central piece. Now it's a multi-generational type location where you get the kids, you get the adults, you get the grandparents, you get everyone there together intermixing with that. So we can help with this area. The playground also, we get a discount to the agencies to get these hubs developed from PlayCore, and then you have our grants as well. So here's kind of the medium version. So you got the 4 courts on the left, tennis, 4 pickleball courts on the right, and then you got your really your neat playground, and of course it's like a tennis ball. So that was kind of cool. And then here's some of the PlayCore playground equipment. Here's this half a tennis racket. You'll see it's kind of a balance beam where the grip is, and then you got the rope climbing wall, which is kind of neat. And then you can kind of hop ball to ball to ball right over there. So really just bringing this up. So if you do have a master plan that you're working on, and if you do know that, hey, there's going to be a playground, there's going to be maybe some tennis courts and that, let's have the conversation. Let's talk through this and figure it out. And I've already kind of mentioned this a little bit. So we basically had 800. Let's see, I have this in the way here. Yeah, 830 inquiries 2 years ago, close to 830 last year as well. We've distributed 1.44 last year. We're on track to distribute about 1.2 million this year of dollars of various projects. And then here's where the money is. So category 1 really is on the left side. So that's really amenities. So it could be backboards, it could be stage structures. It could be maybe storage units and things like that at a tennis facility. Category 2 would be resurfacing courts is really the main piece there. And it's based on the number of courts and then the max as well, not to go over 50% of the project. And then category 3 is really new construction, reconstruction, or like Chris, your LED project as well, because the costs are fairly high. So we moved it from category 2 to category 3 for that increased dollar amount. All right, any questions? Any questions? Any answers? No. All right, here we go. All right. And then that would be it. Look at that. So that's really the background of everything of these services. Obviously, the sections, they also provide programming, and they have programming grants, and that's where we can really connect you with the sections, and they can help and support you from that capacity.
Todd, I have a quick question. As you mentioned about programming, can you talk about a little bit of, or what kind of programs do you offer for individuals with disabilities in regards to tennis?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, there's a number of entities, a number of programs that are out there for disabilities. I used to run the wheelchair program and the wheelchair program and the adaptive program for USTA Texas. So there's a blind and visually impaired program. I mean, it's amazing to see how players that actually don't see, that they're able to. There's a ball. It's a foam ball that has like a rattle in it, like a bell, and they're able to hit it back and forth with that type of a program. We have AC and autism, obviously Special Olympics is another one. I'm not sure, Amelia and Lauren, if you want to jump in with, and Hector, if maybe in the chat or just jump on to talk about others. But yeah, there are a number of programs out there. I know I did a lot with Wounded Warriors from the wheelchair side. With USTA, we keep them somewhat separate. More of the intellectual disabilities, and then there's the physical disabilities as far as the wheelchair side. There's also amputee tennis. And the great thing is there's up, down, and run, roll tennis is the name of it, where an able-bodied player would play with a wheelchair player against others. Because it's not like basketball where there's a big disadvantage. In tennis, you could be in a wheelchair and you can play against an able-bodied person. No issue there.
To get those resources, where will we go to figure out how to start programming?
We'll follow up with that. I think it would be great just to know where you're located, and then we can connect you with the right person there within the section or the district, because they'll know all those resources,
Gotcha.
That are readily available for you. It just makes more sense to do that than from the national side.
Okay, and I see Amelia put something in the chat also. So I think there was another question in the chat from Lakita.
It seems that if the pickleball community is most vocal, how can we provide client support for the silent majority of tennis players? That's a great question. When I was at the last year in Dallas at the NRPA, there were 2 sessions. I don't know if any of you attended those, but one was a listening session. It was me and then my counterpart from pickleball, Carl Snitz. And it was just open question from any park professional could just ask those questions. And, what resonated with me was, one person said, well, pickleball's loud, tennis is quiet, but they didn't mean that just because of the ball and the paddle on the court, but it was also advocacy, right? And I think we all can nod our head on that. Yeah, it is absolutely true. I think tennis players have just had it comfortable the last number of years, last decade or so. And here, you know, pickleball comes in. It's like, okay, they are much more vocal for that. So Lakita, what I would say is, you know, if there is a specific area that you're talking about, let us run that report so we can see what the true numbers are to help back up and then provide the resources needed to, you know, to make a better sound decision on whatever that decision would look like. But I think it's more of a conversation. It's hard to do kind of a one size fits all response, you know, from there. So.
Gotcha. Appreciate that, Todd. And looks like one of our board members, Keith Wallace, who's with Lincoln Way Special Recreation Association, says he also has some resources in terms of Shahara's question about working, starting programs for individuals with disabilities. So a great resource there as well. So, but yeah. Are there any other questions for Todd, the USTA team? Well, looks like we're good. Todd, anything else you want to add? Any final thoughts?
No, I just, you know, sooner than later, if you do have a project, if it's a resurfacing project, if it's, you know, whatever it looks like, you know, the sooner we can get engaged and help and support you, the better. Because once you get kind of down the road a little bit, you know, we do request in the grant, we do request that we review and exhaust the technical aspect of it. So if you do get 3 bids on resurfacing, you know, they may be variously different, but let us just take a look at it and say, well, you know what, this bid here, they're not putting any sand in the paint. Right. Well, that's important. You need a little grit on the tennis court. So, you know, let us just take a look at it, provide some feedback, some questions. Then you can go back to the contractor, have them make the adjustments for the proposal. So now that it might even be a price difference that would occur. So that actually is just another set of eyes to help you. And then once that's exhausted, then we would extend our grant application. You just fill that out and say, yep, we're resurfacing 4 tennis courts. Here's the information that we settled on. And then we review it really quick. And then we provide an award letter from there. So that's just like under resurfacing, same thing with new construction, reconstruction as well. So, yep.
Well, Todd, we appreciate you and your team, the entire team from USTA, for all the support that you provide, not only NRP EMS, but for our communities across the country. These are resources that I can tell you firsthand are impactful and really help us not just grow the game of tennis, but just expose our youth and help build healthier communities. So we thank you for all that you do.
I appreciate it. I mean, you know, tennis is a ways to the end, right? It's a way to build those healthy communities out there, and that's what we ultimately want, is to, you know, it's just the downstream benefit of what tennis can help and support. So we're on the same page there.
Absolutely. So, well, this concludes our webinar. Again, we did record this session, so this will be posted on our YouTube page. So if you just go to YouTube, it should be up in a day or so. And we'll also provide links to those resources that Todd provided to the chat, so that if you all want to follow up with Todd and his team, we can make sure you have that information. So, but we appreciate you all for joining us and look forward to seeing everyone at the next webinar.
All right. Thanks again. Take care.